Welcome to the DJNTV Chill Room Chat, your space to unwind and talk shop. This episode is sponsored by MadeByDJs.com, innovative tools designed specifically by DJs for DJs. DJEventPlanner.com, the industry standard for streamlining your business and booking faster. And DJRequests.com, the easiest way to manage your dance floor's vibe in real time. Support the show by using our Amazon affiliate link at djntv.com/Amazon. Now, let's get into the mix.
Hello, welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show, where we're joined by an interesting cast of characters here from all over the country tonight. Jay, what's the topic tonight?
Are we doing the separating the artist from the art?
Yeah.
We're doing separating the artist from the art, and you will quickly see what that means as we discuss different artists and whether or not we like their product and art based not on its merits, but on the individual's persona, politics, and everything else.
I didn't get that memo, but go ahead.
Okay.
Who would like to riff on this one first?
Well, I'll start as always.
I was going to say, yeah, you started this ball rolling, Mr. Detroit. Is it okay if I hum Cat Scratch Fever in the background while you talk?
Yeah, go for it. Well, as he mentioned, as referred to, a Ted Nugent song. Artist versus art versus the artist. I have nothing against Ted Nugent music personally. Some of his politics I am not a big fan of.
Sure.
Okay. But with that being said, I mean, the guy made some great music. You can't deny that.
Right.
Like I said, me running down, hanging out with him on the 100-acre, lot with a big rifle in my hand, shooting down buffalo. No, I can care less about that.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
it's funny you phrase it that way, because the only question that comes to mind for me is, if you don't like the person, doesn't that automatically take it off a playlist that it might end up on? Because he's a tough one, because I love his music.
Right.
And I don't think of him politically. I just think of the music. But it's not music that I get to really run into very often, because it's not in the kind of zeitgeist of what's going on in my world of weddings and corporate events.
How about I throw one at you that might work that way?
Okay.
What if we talked about somebody, speaking of Michigan, what if we talked about somebody like Kid Rock?
I was just about to bring that up.
It was incredibly political. Now, here's something interesting about Kid Rock. Now, all summer long is something that, I don't know, going back 15 years ago, I was playing at every single event.
Oh, yeah. I
Now,
got good airplay.
And then we all know where he leans politically. But here's what's really interesting. Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow are still very close. And they couldn't be more politically different, because Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow can both separate the art from the politics. Even on a personal level, they can do this. And they can still be friends, because they had that song Picture together, and they've stayed close ever since.
Yeah.
And they're not hating on each other. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I mean, you mentioned kind of as a joke, Gary Glitter, which is something that happened over in Europe. And not that Rock and Roll Part 2 is something that we're playing at every event that we do, but there's some things happen with him that weren't a matter of opinion. It was a matter of right or wrong. And he's kind of been banned, as they do over in England, in a lot of ways, where you just don't play him anymore. So just maybe having it. Sorry?
It looks supportive. I think society as a whole will judge the DJ based on what they're playing. And what I mean is, if I'm playing Rock and Roll Part 2 at an event, I think there's always going to be somebody in the crowd that's going to hear it and go, man, I can't believe the DJ doesn't know that this guy
Blank.
blank. So that's one of the reasons And I'll give you a hugely polarizing character in the same vein. And it's changed. And Damon brought it up, and I've brought it up, and that is R. Kelly. Now, 5 years ago, you had a tough time even playing Ignition, the remix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Has anyone ever heard the non-remix of that? I don't think I have.
no, I didn't know there was one. It's sort of like certain live songs. Like, wait, well, you know what it's exactly like? It's exactly like Cheap Trick live at Budokan, I Want You to Want Me. You ever heard the original?
Yeah,
It sounds like
and
a
I
slow
regret
Beatles
it.
song.
Yeah,
It's like, this is terrible.
yeah, it's not good.
But I can play R. Kelly at the right time. I can play Step in the Name of Love
Mm-hmm.
or Ignition the remix, and I don't get any blowback. There was a time when the documentaries came out where I had brides physically emailing me going, "Hey, by the way, on the do not playlist, Michael Jackson and R. Kelly," because those two docs on Netflix ran kind of concurrent.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it tends to be that people feel the crimes of the artist are reflected in the songs and not separate. I don't judge politically, sexually, or anything else what somebody does or doesn't do. Because if I did, I'd probably have to lose half my music list.
More than half.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's something bad that somebody's done along the way. Hey, you know, it's the 50s music night. We're all going to play Jerry Lee Lewis.
No, we're not. Or Elvis. Or
That's what I'm
anyone
saying.
else.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you'd have to do. It's like, wait, he married his 13-year-old cousin. It's like, yeah, but there was different then.
It was a different time, really.
I
What
think
They
time
were
was it
blood
when that was
related.
okay? Yeah.
well, it's uncomfortable to me if I have to justify it. And I don't want to be put in a position where the perfect song is, you know, Summertime by Kid Rock, which I still think of because it's such a Skinnerd track, and I always rip it with Skinnerd, that I think that one
It's
gets a little
actually Warren
pass.
Zevon's Werewolves of London.
Well, it's that
That-
too, but it's got such a Skinnerd thing where he jumps into it at the end. I
Yeah.
think that one gets a little bit of a pass. I mean, if you played My Name is Kid, that Ba with the Ba,
Yeah,
that's
which
such
no
a
one's
blatant,
doing.
like, supporting himself song. I think that one would get more kickback.
Well, no one
I
wants to hear that
prefer
song
people
anyway.
didn't care. Personally, I would just as soon play what I play and not have people put it under a microscope. But I do know that part of what I do for a living is reflected. If I had a very left-leaning client, there's music that I may not run to versus if I had a very right-leaning client, there's music that I might run to. So
It's common sense.
Mhm.
I think it is, but
It's not common, but it's common sense. Yeah.
well, and the topic of the show begs a question. And the question is simply, is it fair? Meaning, should we make our playlists against the crimes of the artist versus the art?
I want to hear what Eric has to say about this.
You know, somebody brought up Michael Jackson earlier. I think it was Jake, where it was on the do not playlist. Now, before all these alleged, and we own, I don't have to say it, but there was a bunch of alleged crime, that before all this came about, he was the top of our dance floor for most of our shows.
All right.
Now, there came a point where in my career where I thought, do I not play him anymore? Do I not? I never got him on a do not play list, for like a wedding.
Sure.
Like Billie Jean has always been a top,
A staple. Yeah.
want to be starting something, rock with you.
Thriller.
I mean, you go bet right. But again, are we as DJs to judge what was alleged or
It's interesting you asked that question
right?
because I've never thought of myself as judge and jury for this. I've never tried to be the moral cop. I've said this over and over and over again. And some people disagree with some of the songs that I choose to play because, well, that song talks about this. I don't care. It's a good song. It's a good song. So the last thing I'm going to do is tell people how they're supposed to be feeling about things. The way I've always handled this, right or wrong, is let's say a new documentary comes out about Bruno Mars where Bruno Mars goes around and kicks puppies for fun. And then everybody wants to like not hear Bruno Mars songs right now. I might, during the run of this documentary and while it's a hot topic, I might try to avoid Uptown Funk. But once it kind of blows over, I'll put it back in. That's kind of how I handle it. It's almost topical at that point. Where
Yeah.
what I really want at my events, because Jay and I have the same philosophy on social events, where we want the music to be at a level where you can hear it, feel it, yet it's not competing with your speech, so you can have conversations. If I were to be at an event, let's say during this whole Michael Jackson documentary thing, and I dropped a Michael Jackson track, I can almost see the table conversation. I don't want them to be talking about that at my events. I don't want to trigger that conversation. I want this to be fun and positive and non-divisive. Now, if somebody talks about it a year later, I guess they can't let go. But while it's topical, I avoid it. When it's no longer topical, I don't care. And it's not me because I never had a problem with it. I'm just thinking about others at my event. Does that make any sense?
It does. And it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day when I was working, because I'm working alone, not really talking to anybody. So, you can get lost as you're dealing with music and DJ equipment about the artistry of it. And I was thinking, I've been doing this for 30 years. And just like Eric was saying about, Michael Jackson's a staple, it's so funny to me that the music that we talk about, because I watched Michael Jackson's Billie Jean not kill the way it did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It doesn't have the same punch it once had.
Well, people have moved on a little bit. I
Well, they've
mean,
moved on, but it's also something that's 40 years old or 43 years
40
old.
It's a whole new
year old
era
song,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I think back to the 80s when there were DJs, and I tend to think a DJ in 1983 wasn't playing music from 1940.
No, but
You
you
know,
know what they were doing? I remember seeing DJs at my sister's college parties when I was really young, around that time. They were doing a lot of weird album tracks too that you never heard on the radio. I
Right,
remember,
but
for instance,
they were playing roughly newer music.
well, yeah, for younger crowds, they were
And
playing
and they
stuff
they
within
might
the
have
last 10 years.
they might have a throwback. It's just
Yeah.
funny as time keeps marching forward as DJs, we keep collecting, here's a new Cardi B track, and you know what? It mixes really well with this Jackson 5 track from 1977.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said in the 80s, hey, I'm going to play this new Thompson Twins track, and man, this mixes so well with Patty Page. Or, oh, this really drops hard with
Well,
Rosemary Clooney.
yeah.
Like, it's just funny to
Yeah.
me that the palette of music is so much bigger for us than it once was. And with
well,
every year, it
well,
gets
Yeah,
bigger.
well,
it
with that,
does.
well, I'm sorry. With that being said, Jay, you have to look at it. In 1984, they wasn't sampling stuff from 1940.
Right. No, 100%.
The other
But
thing
So
that's
that's
to
why
that's where I'm kind of going.
the other thing to maybe consider is that rock and roll, I mean, we could argue, kind of showed up on the radar in 1955.
Right.
So if you started DJing in 1985, you had 30 years of music to worry about.
No, no,
Really,
no.
rock and roll
100%.
era music. Yeah.
It's not a romantic view as much as it is kind of more of a philosophical, like, wow,
Yeah.
the things that were once new are old. But as Damon pointed out, which is kind of where I was going with sampling, like I'm hearing tracks now where I'm like, no one is raising their hand but me going, okay, guys, they've literally just taken an old, you know, Naked
Yeah.
Eyes track and just put new lyrics over it. Am I the
Right.
only one in the room that knows that? And you look around and go, yeah, you are, old man. You're the only one that knows who Naked Eyes are. So I
Right.
think that
Right.
that's an advantage to us as DJs. But part of that new scrutiny is that people view music as the artist and not the great track. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I don't know if you guys have it, but I was able to get and purchase like 10 tracks that are all famous 90s tracks, and they all in parentheses say no P. Diddy. Someone had wiped out the
Oh,
P. Diddy stamp. So now I
wow.
have these tracks by Biggie, by Mace, all these great tracks, but there's no P. Diddy in them.
Yo,
They
yo.
took the
Okay, we
stem
blocked that
down.
part out.
But
Yeah.
again, I think for right this second,
But-
I think it's already blowing over with him, but we're just waiting for the next artist to screw
Yeah.
something up.
Well,
Yeah.
people like drama. They like the whole tabloid thing anyway. They just latch onto it. If people used to love to see celebrities ascend and then descend.
Right.
It's something that people get a lot of joy out of for some reason.
Well, we sell, nobody's ever going to put on the cover of a newspaper or a TV show or a news forecast that, news broadcast that says, topping our stories today, man works hard all his life, saves money, and takes care of family.
No.
But they're going to
Right.
put,
Yeah.
man finds cocaine and heroin and hookers and now finds God and now is back with his family. Let's go to like that will celebrate because if it bleeds, it leads. And I think there is a section of society that kind of likes some of the artists to
Yeah.
falter. But I don't know in our world of weddings and corporate events if
Yeah.
we can now celebrate that. Like I wouldn't run to my next event and throw Puff Daddy on
Well, I was
because
yeah.
I think it's too soon, and I think it would be viewed as I can't believe the DJ doesn't know fill in the blank.
I haven't ever played a Puff Daddy song at an event, I don't think.
Well,
You haven't? More money, more problems,
Well,
stuff
well,
like that.
not that's more of a Notorious B.I.G. song as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but
okay, so you never played
he's
last
all
night?
up in it.
I was just gonna say last night.
You
That
never played
was a
last night
great.
with him and Keisha
yeah.
Cole?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Oh man,
That
that was
was
a
a
banger.
never
great
played
track.
it.
Back in the
Damon,
day.
Damon, is your screen working? Do you see this guy? Come
Yeah.
on.
Hey. Well, Jay, to go back to what you were talking about, I'm gonna take all the P. Diddy vocals that they removed from your records. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put them on mine. I'm gonna make a 2-hour mix of nothing but P. Diddy vocals.
There you go. Now, if you need instrumentation, I think I can get you some Ted Nugent instrumentals.
That would
Oh,
be
that'll
nice,
work too.
yeah.
Work,
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm actually
Yes.
really curious what Brian has to say about all this because
He's been keeping quiet. I think he's got a lot
He
to
has.
say.
Oh,
he's got something.
But-
Because I'm wondering, like at the clubs and bars that Brian plays at, is there any artist in particular that you feel like that either the management or the clientele would really frown upon you playing because of a political or because of a any reason at all?
Well, it's not something I would play in the club, but I played it at the club a couple weeks ago. I was doing a show, and when the crowd's gathering, I have this melody of music. It was like a 45-minute mix of like disco songs,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know if this song was ever officially endorsed, like the artist likes it or not. I don't think they do.
Okay.
But the YMCA came on.
Okay.
Okay.
And every time I hear it, I picture the president dancing his
Yeah, isn't that
to
weird?
that song.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's exactly, Eric.
I think I got it down, right?
I can't picture like
Not correctly, but he's dancing to it.
no. So like I didn't get a negative reaction to it, but the people they're just, you can see them moving in their seats waiting for the show to start when that came on. And then
Right.
some
Yeah.
did the hand signals and everything like that. But I don't know if that's really going to affect people.
It's a good question.
Because when you hear that song, you think of the president. Or,
Well, it's
Well-
weird, and I know that the hype song that was played, and I don't believe it was played publicly, but it was the hype song that was played before the January 6th thing, was Gloria, Laura Branigan. That was their hype song they played.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well,
That's a
if you
great
go back and
song.
look,
Yeah,
before he took backstage, they were all gathered around, and the hype song they played was Gloria by Laura Branigan.
I don't get that one.
I don't get it either, but it was.
Yeah.
But a more, I guess, an example that everybody in this room anyway would remember is that during the Clinton campaign, they used Fleetwood Mac's "Don't Stop."
Right.
So for the rest of the 90s, anytime I was even doing a backyard barbecue, I would say no to that song because I didn't really want to trigger anybody who may not like that. There are other Fleetwood Mac songs we can play, but maybe that's not the one to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd be curious from Brian's perspective if there are artists. Do you skip artists if they make an active statement supporting or not supporting a group of people? Like, are there artists that you're like, when you're at the camp, are there
No.
artists that it's just understood? No, they're homophobic. We're not playing that, period.
I never had any reaction to anything like that.
Okay.
I can't think of one artist I would play that. Somebody's going to probably be like, "Why are you playing this for?"
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't think of it. But I know sometimes certain artists will suddenly come out of nowhere with, "Oh, I don't support this group, this group, this group," and it's like, wait, where did that come from, Anita Bryant? You know?
I'm mostly playing like a lot of like 80s and disco type stuff. So
Right.
there's not too many of those artists that are now
Well, even
coming
80s,
out. Well,
like,
I play Michael Jackson. I play him, and I never had a problem. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone I can off the top of my. I mean, Boy George, Pete Byrne, like there's people that were, controversial, let's say, but it never stopped me from thinking like Round and Round's not a great song. But that was like the heart of it. There was no like, I don't recall anyone in the 80s being like crazy, crazy loudmouth. That was more of a like mid late 90s into 2000s where everyone wanted me to know their friggin' opinion, whether I wanted to or not. And there's times where you just have to separate. I think the bottom line of this show is, as a consensus, I think we're probably all on this page. You know what? You got to separate the art from the artist sometimes. Van Gogh went crazy. Am I supporting the lack of mental health in artists by paying $200 million for irises? Probably not. And if, other people had a terrible life and they have a great book and a movie come out of it, we need to see the reality of things, but I don't think we do when it comes to music. People make mistakes. They get drug problems. They do dumb things. And just that's life. They're human. But their
Our,
art is what they do 9 to 5.
our show tonight is brought to you by DJ Van Planner, made by DJs for DJs. Check them out in the description of this video. And thank you, DJ Event Planner, for being one of our proud channel sponsors. It's an interesting topic tonight. And I think that anybody in this room can kind of agree that, yeah, we can separate the art from the artist. And I think most of our clients can too, probably.
But maybe just listen with an open ear sometimes. Like your example of Fleetwood Mac was a great one.
Use common sense. I mean, if you have it, use it. Some people need it laid out for them, but
yeah, not always common.
Not always common. But yeah, great topic. Thanks for bringing it up. And thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. Good night, everybody.